Jai Gurudev. So, welcome everybody. So we continue where we finished yesterday, and today we will have a couple of different topics, all referred to our project of the apartment building in MERU. And we will start with the knowledge, actually, like is always right to do. And the idea is to give you a picture of what MERU offers as knowledge courses. And for that, I would like to introduce Conny Postel and Madusha. Madusha is the director of the course office, and Conny Postel is actually the person that takes care of public relations in the MERU group. And of course, board member of the MERU board of. So then I just hand to you.
Yes. Thank you very much. Steve, is it possible to start a PowerPoint? I'm going to speak about our course office, MERU Course Office, that has not always been here. So, next slide, please. MERU was the home of Maharishi for 18 years, and while that was going on, there were lots of people coming in and out, but MERU was not open for course participants. Please, next slide. So, in 2009, 1 year after Maharishi has passed away, Girish Momaya, Brahmacharya Girish Momaya, started MERU Course Office. And the first year, it was not meditators and siddhas were not used that MERU was open, so there were only 10 course participants at the Guru Purnima. But the next year, in 2010, there were a total of 600 people here. So he did really, really well. And there was the first concert, outside concert here at MERU, at the pond here in front of Maharishi's house. And in 2016, if I'm correct, the next generation took over the course office. So Brahmacharya Girish Momaya has built up the courses and has started with more and more courses, and more people came, refresher courses for governors and courses in Ayurveda. So when the next generation took over, course office was run more professionally in the sense that they started to have a real marketing person and a person who was responsible for the content and the social media, and MERU courses started to blossom and to grow, and also we kept track of they analyzed basically what was happening in the past, which courses were doing well. So we had a more commercial view on the course offices, if I may say so, which is healthy, of course, because MERU Course Office is the only part of MERU that brings in and generates money for MERU. So in 2020, as we all know, the pandemic came. And that was a challenge for MERU because we were used that people would come here, and that was not possible anymore. And what we did, we had to quickly transfer to online courses. But that was a big success, I must say. Last year we had a profit of 50,000 euros, which was really, really something to be proud of. And more courses were developed, and young people coming in, and the organization of the courses. And this brings me to the next course office director, which is Madusha Perera. And Madusha has been leading the course since June last year. And she now lives at MERU. She's also national leader from Sri Lanka. And she's going to tell you more about the courses itself.
Thank you, Connie. Can we go back to just to give you an idea? This is actually the organizational chart, and under the global country of world peace, and we have ministries, and under ministries we have certain courses, and so we take those courses to offer to people. And if you can go to the next slide, please. Course Office, as Conny said, started in different states, and so in 2020 and 2021 we could actually structure the most of the parts of the Course Office, and we established best practices and also structure working plan and online and residence courses, and also we started developing evergreen courses which people can take online at any time. And also we wanted to develop courses just for MERU to tap the blue ocean. So, and also we went ahead with job description so people can work better, and also how to handle our customer request very efficiently, and we developed the online platform, and all these things happened last 2 years. Next slide, please. So I will, next one, please. Skip that. Let's go to the next one. Okay, so I hope this is not the most updated, but I will go through it. Yeah. So we, as I said before, we have different ministries of education and other ministries. So under each ministry, we have developed courses. For example, Science of Creative Intelligence course and education, and Maharishi's Vedic Science and Total Knowledge, and these courses. But we offered these courses on campus before, and we had quite a lot of people on campus. But after we moved to online courses, can we go to the next slide? So Ministry of Health has most of the courses that are actually we are offering all throughout the year. For example, good health and prevention we give to non-meditators as well, and so self-development courses, and also aromatherapy and consultant courses like that. Next slide, please. Next one. So if you can see this, actually we in 2020 we offered few courses online, and we could grow our audience from 850. If you could go to the next slide, we can compare 2020 courses and 2021. Next slide, please. Yeah. So in here you can see we offered more courses, and also we attracted new audiences to these courses, and we grew from 850 to 1,054 new audience in 2021. So this year still courses are going on, so we are still counting more numbers. Next slide, please. And as you can see here, our newsletter subscription actually grew last 2 years by 1,936 subscribers, new subscribers. So we are continuing to grow as we offer online courses. So next slide. And also we have social media reaches, new FB likes, Facebook likes. We got 391 last year. And also Facebook reaches, organic reaches, 301,830. So we can see MERU is actually going to grow our audience more and more with new courses, and we have planned new courses also for non-meditating audience to attract more people to MERU. Can you go to the next? I think it's the last one. Yeah. So thank you so much, and we'll keep you informed. Jai Gurudev.
And now we continue the afternoon with the, yeah, he's just coming.
Maybe we ask if someone has some questions.
Yes. Yes. Okay, good. Let's. Yeah.
For the camera, it's better if you.
I would like to add something about the courses. Yes. If there are any questions about the course office or courses, I would like to add to this because, of course, anybody can take online courses, and that is possible all over the world, basically. But to be here, where Maharishi lived for 18 years, to do a course here, to meditate together and then get the knowledge, it's a different experience, and that is another extra that we can offer for people who live here. It will be really easy for you to go to the lecture hall, to go home to your apartment and then meditate in the evening. So this is why we put this in, also to show you how nice it will be when you live here to have the knowledge available very, I would say, easy at hand.
So a few minutes for questions. One question I'd like to kick off with. So if I'm living here in the apartment building, where would I generally find course participants? Where would I go for courses? Is it in one place or different locations?
Yes, it's mostly here. We just strive to do it in Maharishi's Peace Palace because that is the best place to have courses. But if not, like, for example, with the yoga asana course, you obviously need bigger space, and then we would do that in the visitor stand. Yeah.
And I would like to mention that after 2 years, actually, we had a first World Peace Assembly for 36 participants here last few days. So we finished it yesterday, and it was a success.
Address the camera. I am curious. I'm curious about the percentage of attention that's paid to developing online courses versus in-person courses. If Facebook is the only avenue being used for outreach, or if there are other means of advertising online courses and in-person courses, who is the audience? Who are the attendees? That's a good starting point.
Facebook, we actually showed as an outside marketing aspect, like a general marketing, but we have our own channels, for example, our newsletter subscribers, but also we are setting our newsletter through national officers, through national directors to their audience. So it's actually worldwide spread on our own channels, through our own channels.
Yes, perhaps it's good to know that we also have international course office. This is a course office that structures city courses, TTCs, teacher training courses, and they have a list all over the world of people that have started TM or siddhas and governors. So that list is also used. So emailing is also a big part of our strategy.
That's one of the aspects I wanted to explain was that with the hierarchy chart, that we have different channels. So we have all these governing administrative positions, and also through national directors, we can reach each country, and we have outreach in course office to reach through the national directors.
And part of the courses would require accommodation, and generally I would imagine if you're increasing the course levels and the numbers, that there would be a demand for people to stay in the residence building for those who want to rent out. So there's another connection there. Yeah.
So, other questions to the... Other questions to the topic? Good. Then we go to the next. Now we are having with us Dr. Neil Paterson. We are having with us Dr. Neil Paterson. He is the first person in MERU, so to say, the person that actually makes possible whatever we can raise up from the ground here in this campus. So he is the driving force of all the building projects. His DNA is actually building. And from and here where you are sitting is already the first manifestation of it. So he will tell us a little bit to our context, to our project, and also Caspar will speak about his role and the future of this building, the near future of the building. So Caspar, and who starts?
Okay. When you said I was the first person at MERU, it actually reminded me of, in I think it was 1983, we flew here in a helicopter with Maharishi. For the first time, we hadn't bought the facility, the old building, the big old monastery building, but we arrived in helicopter and just walked around inside in that old building. And I do remember Maharishi at the time being very much, he's struck by the atmosphere of being in this national forest, like surrounded just by all of these trees, and just how pure the atmosphere was. And at that time said, this is where we should be. We had the international headquarters in Salisbury, Switzerland for previous 10 years, from 1973 to 83. But Maharishi wanted to move here, and the national director at that time, Jacques Ayan, he had found this property in a sister property in Valkenburg. But Maharishi was particularly struck by the fact that it was in the middle of this forest, and it just had this incredible silence and freshness of being all surrounded by all the trees, who over the years Maharishi referred many times as our old friends. He referred to all the trees as our old friends. And you really feel that. They're nourishing. They nourish you when you're here. All these old trees and the whole forest. It's a very nourishing place to be. And you go off to Roermond, or you go here and there and you do that. But then you come back here, and it's like you're in this cocoon of nourishment of the forest. So it's a very, very special place to live day in and day out, and to have that benefit. Where else in the world does someone have a property in the middle of a national forest? It's unheard of. So it's really a very special place for many, many different reasons, and that's one very special one, not to be taken for granted, that we have this spot. And so I just wanted to thank everyone, first who have organized this event so beautifully, and it's really nicely organized. I know Daria was very much involved, and Caspar, of course, Raja Andreas and Linda, and Raja Alberto and Margherita, and many others, Roxana, here, good. And all who arranged this, it's really nicely done. It was beautifully done, and the ceremony yesterday, and all the features of it. It was really a rich 2 days that we've had. And of course, especially, I just wanted to thank on behalf of MERU and the board of directors and Maharaja, all those who participated in this weekend, either here or online, and who are now interested or who have signed up or are interested in having an apartment here at MERU. I think if you decide to do that, it'll be the best decision you've ever made, and you will never regret it. Because being here, you are in a community, unlike really anywhere else in the world. There are very few of these communities of people who are dedicated to achieving the very goal of life, which is to live in unity consciousness. That is actually the purpose and goal of the entire universe. Everything in creation. The ultimate goal is to experience that state of unity consciousness where I am one with everything. And this is the atmosphere, kind of atmosphere, where you have the greatest chance of achieving that. And so all of the life here, all in the community, and all the amenities, whatever they may be, whether it's sitting in the Vedic recitation, doing group program, and yes, I know the facilities at the moment aren't ideal for all of these features, but that is the plan under Caspar's leadership to realize those facilities where all those different amenities or different features of life in the community will just be rich, very rich and comfortable. But over and above all those different factors, by living here, you are just participating in this community that is dedicated to one thing. And we want to preserve that atmosphere. That was something actually that came up the other day from, I think it was Dr. Walter Mulk. You know, he was saying as we increase the dynamism here, that means number of people living here, number of activities, features, things going on, we have to be sure we preserve the inner silence of the community as well. So that is something that's very, very much in everyone's mind as we go forward in the expansion of MERU and looking to the future, that we preserve that beautiful quality, which actually just comes from the very purpose of MERU and why everyone is here, and it is to develop higher states of consciousness leading to unity consciousness. So I mainly just wanted to thank everyone and express our gratitude to all for this wonderful weekend, and again to all those who have made the decision to come and live here. You're very welcome, and we look forward to more and more and making this a very rich community of enlightened. So thank you all. Jai Gurudev.
Thank you, Neil. That's very inspiring. Neil and I also wanted to share a little bit about the plans for MERU. And in a minute we'll show a slide which is kind of a hidden result of the collaboration of the people in the apartment building project. We also work together on MERU's mission. And of course that's not something that this small group decided on, but we organized a summit of all the leaders in the movement. Maharaja was there, all the residents at MERU. And if video can bring up the next slide, this is a mission and vision poster for MERU. And it's really coming from Maharishi directly, because he designed the campus with Dr. Eike Hartmann, having a separation of two in mind, Gyan Shakti and Kriya Shakti, knowledge and administration. And the everlasting vision is always and will always be heaven on earth, a world of peace, happiness, prosperity for everyone on earth, by developing the full potential of human consciousness through Maharishi Vedic science and technologies of consciousness. Now, MERU's mission is to serve as the headquarters of Maharishi's worldwide transcendental meditation organizations and as a university of Maharishi Vedic science and technology of consciousness, to bring enlightenment to every individual and invincibility to every nation, providing administration through natural law to support the administration of every country in order to create problem-free government. Now, we identified together in that summit with about 70 people through a number of breakout groups. We broke out in smaller groups and talked together about what we wanted to see in MERU, what we thought was important, what is there to preserve, and what's missing. And so, using the structure Maharishi left us of Gyan Shakti, knowledge, and Kriya Shakti, administration, we came up with 4 pillars of each. If we can get the slide again. The knowledge part, the primary, or not the primary, the last wish of Maharishi was to have a tower of invincibility, meant to be a public exhibition of all his offerings of Maharishi Vedic science and technology and all the work that's been done here and in Salisbury and all over the world. You've heard earlier from Conny and Madusha, knowledge, courses and trainings. That's the second pillar of knowledge at MERU. We develop and we train people in Maharishi Vedic science and technologies, also how to teach others. All those courses are also developed here, or not all, but all the newer ones are being developed here, and we have a building dedicated, which we call the video building, to making the DVDs, recording the sessions, and making sure it's accessible all over the world. A third pillar is the self-development program, or also known as the volunteer program. MERU provides opportunities for a next generation. It's not necessarily any particular age, but anybody coming through, learning TM, wanting to develop themselves and experience what it's like at MERU. The fourth is Ayurveda, an Ayurveda health center. We have been on a smaller scale providing those treatments and technologies for many years. When we had this building in Sint-Odilienburg, we were providing it on a higher level. We had quite a nice clinic. Not yet, to the next slide, please. And we are planning now to re-enliven that. Maharaja has given a very strong push just the other day to really enliven that experience of Ayurveda here at MERU to become a top-level resort for people to really experience that. Right now, we do still have it in smaller scale. Anybody can come and get Vajra consultations and light gem treatments and aromatherapy, but we really want to step it up to a world-class level. Neil, should we do it in tandem? Do you want to tell us about the administrative part?
Which part?
The 4 pillars of administration at MERU.
So the global country of work is
The festivals at MERU. Oh, sure. Campus operations.
okay.
Coherence groups.
Oh, I have to do all of it.
Yeah.
No, I did my part. You.
We'll switch one by one. Oh yeah, no, Joe. You want to?
I can't see from this side.
Yeah. Yeah. Maharishi defined these 2 pillars, you could say. One is knowledge, or in Vedic terminology, gyan, the power of knowledge. And then the power of kriya, which means action. So knowledge is intellectual, but kriya is the action based on the knowledge. So those 2 types of activities, knowledge and action, or administrative in this case. And Caspar, he laid out the 4 areas of knowledge that we're focused on here. And then with respect to administration, of course, when Maharishi was here as the leader of the worldwide transcendental meditation movement, all his administration for that, for over 100 countries where TM is being taught, was here at MERU. And those leaders were around him, and then all the national leaders in each country. But the central administration of that was here at MERU, and he wanted that to continue, of course. But I think, as everyone knows, in 2001 he created an administrative structure for his world movement called the Global Country of World Peace. And Dr. Tony Nader, Maharaj Adiraj Rajaram, was appointed by Maharishi as the head of the Global Country of World Peace. That means the head of his whole organization around the world. And then also trained other administrators. Maharaj is the chief administrator, but then administrators for each country called Rajas and mothers of the domain, and also for the ladies' wing, for promoting Maharishi's knowledge for women and girls. They are called Rajashris. And so these are the leaders who, many of them who are here, not all, but many. Others are in different parts of the world. So from here, they're guiding the teaching of Maharishi's knowledge and programs in over 100 countries around the world. And that will continue to be a very important role here at MERU, of that outward action to spread Maharishi's knowledge and to offer it in every area of society and in every country of the world. So that's a very important part of the community here at MERU. You don't necessarily see that going on, but all those who are here, the different Rajas, Raja Alberto, Raja Andreas, others who are actually living here permanently, or will come from time to time, they're engaged in that activity and outreach to the countries of the world. And so, if we can go down again, please. Yeah, okay. But also, as you saw yesterday and day before, if you were here, the performance by the Vedic pundits of what is called yajna or pujas for various events. And here we have a calendar. It's called the Vedic calendar. Throughout the year, there are different days where you enliven from the Vedic tradition those laws of nature. It's particularly auspicious on this particular time and on this particular day. And so we have the Maharishi Vedic pundits here who are performing those yajnas, those Vedic performances throughout the year. And so that is also a very dynamical aspect of the life here and part of the administration of the Global Country of World Peace, because the purpose of the Global Country of World Peace is to support the administration of every nation through the support of natural law. And the way to gain the support of natural law is first by going inward and experiencing transcendental consciousness, which is the seat or the home of all the laws of nature. And then through these Vedic yogic performances, it enlivens those natural laws that are at the basis of the evolution of life everywhere. This is from the Vedic tradition. So that is constantly going on, as well as other events and conferences and congresses on Vedic science or on consciousness. I remember some years back Rajaram had that wonderful conference on mathematics and consciousness, which was kind of the precursor to his book, One Unbounded Ocean of Consciousness. So from time to time there are these congresses, including having the national directors of our organizations throughout the world come here for annual meetings. That hasn't happened so much in the last 2-3 years, but will continue throughout time. So over to you, Caspar.
Next we have a less flashy pillar of MERU, but still very necessary, the campus operations. We have about 30 hectares of forest and 10 hectares of land where we build roads and gardens and homes that all need tending and need maintenance and keeping. Really, the keepers of the campus are part of the operations team, They take care of all of us, whether we have an event or whether we live here. They're a much beloved part of MERU. It's good to have be friends with the operations people. Finally, we have the coherence creating groups. Now, MERU is a unique place in the world because it's a place where we have resident pundits, we have resident Mother Divine, and resident Purushas, all in the same place, doing daily practice of their programs. The pundits are performing Rudabhisheks every day upstairs in Maharishi's house, doing puja to Gurudev. And aside from that, almost everyone living and working at MERU is a meditator and performs their daily program as well. We have some flying halls that are definitely in need of upgrades, but we still proudly do our program together every day, twice a day. And that's an inherent part of MERU, and one thing that keeps the atmosphere very beautiful here at MERU. Next, we wanted to show you what are we doing now. Now, we all know about the apartment building. On the master plan, it has the number 157. But MERU is also working on a few other projects. This next phase, which we call phase 1, is the apartment building 157. Close nearby is 156, which is a similar sized building, which is also technically an apartment building, but it's a building that is for the residents and staff and administrators of MERU. And it's, like I said, similar size, but it's actually 70 single rooms. So it's many more apartments, but they're all more standard size hotel rooms. Behind that is number 153, very close to the video building that I mentioned earlier. They're also similar size, those two buildings. And the 153 is the building where you're going to find those friends that you need to help tend the gardens or deal with any maintenance issues or deal with general feedback, taking care of the campus or how to improve things. That's the operations building. The people there are really taking care of everything happening at MERU. Now, also finally on the plan, you see a number 152. That's not part of phase 1, but is most definitely part of phase 2. And that building is the Annapurna, which is really the heart of the community building where we're going to have new Vastu dining halls. And the kitchen will also be there and space for events, etc. So that's the latest. I don't know if Alberto wants to add anything or Roger.
So maybe some questions to what was spoken so far in terms of the campus administrations and plans. Seems to be not the case. So then we can go to the next topic.
I always like to fill a void. Before we move on to the next topic, just a thread from yesterday. We had a bit of a disruption yesterday, but we said it was a positive one, and Caspar alluded to the fact that we were given a bigger remit for the health facility here from Maharaja, and it was big impetus for us all. And then we came into the meeting and met some of the friends of MERU who helped make this happen from an energy point of view, from idea to realization. And we shared how Neil G took us under his wing as first person and DNA of construction. And I think that's a very, very lovely way of putting it. And we saw that we had also people from the outside who were really supportive to bring resource, not just their cash and acquire an apartment, but also their knowledge. And one of those people who also showed generosity to us, who's inside, is Rafael. And Rafael does so much for the movement at large. And when we invited him to come in, and I said, okay, I'm happy to invest myself. And Rafael said, well, if you do, then I'll meet you. and more than just investing with us to help make this happen, Rafael taught me over the course of the following months that we're not just going to open up to anybody here. This is not going to be just swing the doors open. We're going to be very selective, and Rafael helps us to refine also the legal structures and to help the rest of the team to move forward. So I'd like to personally thank you, Rafael, for all your effort, and I would like to invite you to say a few words about why this is the place to be.
Thank you, Raja Andreas. I'm very inspired to see buildings come up at MERU because for all the reasons that we have discussed so far, but mainly because this is where Maharishi lived, and that's the atmosphere, the darshan that he created here, which we are all experiencing. And so it is something that really inspires me to see the whole campus enlivened with the very strong movement people and meditators and governors and siddhas to come and live here. And so I've been really rooting for the buildings here, the apartment building, the residence building, and all the other buildings that we can manage to build at this time. And this, I just want to mention something that when I first started in the movement, I went to a residence course at Livingston Manor, New York. And it struck me there, that was a facility we had with all the, all our strong people at that time. And it struck me there that the atmosphere is so unbelievably settled and beautiful that I said, this is where I would like to live in a facility like this. And then, of course, coming to MERU and being here with Maharishi when Maharishi was here, as we all know, we all had that desire to be here as much as possible and as long as possible and never leave, if possible. And so now I've been here off and on, and it was very hard for me to have a place here to stay. It took quite a while to have, in one of the Raja homes, to have a place. So I felt that we should have a facility for those who very strongly desire to be in this atmosphere, plus all the amenities that can be provided now with the health center and so forth, to come and live here and experience this, as many of the very strong people who would like that experience. So that's my inspiration, and I wanted to share it with you, so and make you feel welcome here, and really hope that you can come and enjoy it here and have a place to stay like I really always wanted, and many of us really always wanted, and not everyone had the fortune to be here. So that would be my input today. Thank you, Jay Gurudev.
Thank you, Rafael. That was beautiful. And Caspar and Neil, you just, I believe, created a wonderful presentation for the next generation to know what MERU is about. Those that are going to acquire here wanted to know, but I think internally too, what you've got there is a bit of a masterpiece, what you just shared. So I would encourage you to keep sharing that story. And I think, Neil, you did say it was about just keep telling the story. Yeah.
When I went to my first residence course, I was 20 years old. This is at Livingston Manor, so Caspar
all the young generation, the next generation, I'm sure they'll love to also experience this. So bring them here, bring them on.
Yes, so it was nice. We started with these forces of nature and having Neil G as Kriya, the force of administration. Then we have now Rafael, the silent Gyan force. It's nice to put it together. It's fantastic. And so maybe we can now go to the next topic that may interest our guest strongly. If I am right, Darya, we are now talking about Vastu, the building and interiors. Yeah? Good. So my work for this project is to take care of that we, Raj Andreas and me, get together the way how to build it, but my part being for the construction itself, for the architecture and all that. So including Vastu, the knowledge how to build this building. And first we wanted to mention some principles of how to make condominiums and apartment buildings according to Vastu very quickly. And then we would have Eike, Dr. Eike Hartmann. Eike Hartmann is not only my boss, he's the light of Vastu in our movement because of one simple reason. He has got the most time with Maharishi in terms of Vastu, receiving this precious knowledge. No one in the movement had this fortune. So he is a Pandora box, so to say, for us. And he will answer your questions, of course, that you might have. So then I just, if Steve could make the first slide, then we go quickly through some. Here you see again the south part of the campus, the so-called action part, activity part. We would say that here the concentration of the buildings, we find the tall buildings, but as you can see, all the buildings have nice gardens around, even the forest we have around the apartment building. And before I go to the apartment building itself, just to remind you, I guess many of you know already, you have informed yourself what is Vastu, but what is Vastu? Vastu is everything if you think how you settle yourself on earth. Yeah, so Vastu is the source, the cause, and the goal of the whole, meaning it is the knowledge, the principles, how to build a building, how to plan it and build it. Then it is the process of building, of constructing, and it is the building itself, meaning the manifestation of the life of the client itself, of himself, of his soul, his body, his evolution, everything. So the imprint that he puts on earth is the buildings. And this is the goal of Vastu. And we can see that Vastu is actually giving a birth to something from knowledge until the material manifestation of it. Here you can see the south part of the Vastu, of the campus. And you see the main road starting with the Annapurna, the dining hall, and then in between, in the back, you see the apartment building, then the residence building, then in between again a smaller operations building, and then the existing video building. And then we turn around, go to the woods, and see again one after the other. this nice rendering have been created by our architect's office that will actually execute the whole opera. And they have a nice designer there that is able to do it. So then second point is, if you can stop here, Steve, would be nice. Thank you. Stop. Yeah, fantastic. This is very good. Here we can leave it. Now, what are the constituents of a Vastu building? Mainly three. You see a fence around the building. We call it the Vastu fence. Then you have the building itself. And then next you have inside the building, the center of the building. And in the roof, on the ridge of the roof, small, you can see very small ornament. And this would be what we call the center of the building, and on the roof, now manifested on the roof. You see the collage, the ornament on the top. This is the center of the building. Now, these are the three main elements of any building according to Vastu. They need to be there. It is not Vastu. Maharishi Vastu won't be present there. Now, automatically they decide the appearance of the building, but also that the building is oriented, that is right positioned. And this orientation has actually two aspects, if we want. One is the outer delimitation, the Vastu fence. When we are in the building, look outside, we find that the Vastu fence has the connecting member to the outside world. So what is between ourselves, our building, and the outside atmosphere and world is this Vastu fence. So this is a very delicate and important element of the building to be there in certain proportions, all calculated, and the proportions are important, the length, the distance to the building, etc. And then continue, yes, please, and explain then the next. So here we stop. You see where the word entrance area is written. You see there the so-called Brahmastan. This is the center of the building, and there is on the top of the roof the collage correspondingly. And then if we can continue, maybe, yes, here we could explain the next topic, just to give over to Margherita, because the next principle of Vastu is that we place the activities, what happen in a house, according to the laws of nature. Placing them meaning arranging furniture, deciding about materials, to make everything a whole that connects any activity that is in the building, like sleeping, eating, anything, according to the particular law of nature that is governing the house. So maybe I could stop here now, and then Margherita maybe could explain a little bit more about the interiors. Or maybe questions. Yeah, of course. Some questions to Vastu, and then I would give forward to Eike.
Yes. What does Vastu mean to the one who is living in that house? What exactly does it mean?
Well, Vastu is creating a particular effect. And the effect of Vastu is balance. And the real term, which is used in Sanskrit, is called Vastu Shanti. It creates peace, peaceful living in that beautiful building. Now the building is, as Raja and Alberto was saying, it is designed in a special way. And each Vastu building, you don't really see it, is designed with reference to its center point. Now the center point is made by the intersection of two center lines. And one line that goes towards the east, from west to the east, that goes towards the sun. So that line is called the Brahma Sutra. It is the line of totality. It gives you the influence of the King of Heaven, of the sun coming towards you. And the sun generates different energies throughout the day. And the other line that goes, towards the north, that is called the Soma Sutra. Soma means in terms of full moon. And it also is generated in the physiology. So what is happening when you live in a Vastu building, it is all in terms of health. So what we are doing here, and we have to congratulate ourselves, we are having a very creative approach. We are merging two Vedas. We are merging Ayurveda and we are merging Sthapatya Veda. And both are Veda, the same, but they are Upaveda, means applied. So the division that Neilji was saying and explaining before, that one part is in terms of knowledge is Veda. And the other part, the southern part, is in terms of application of Veda, which is Upaveda. So this theme that we are having in this campus is fulfilled by living on the southern part in terms of application of health and knowledge. So we are building a health and knowledge center, and that is the great thing that we are doing together, and we are doing it in phases. And it will be, as Maharaji was saying, a model for the world. So we are really doing it very well with the help of Raja Andreas and Rudi and everyone, all the experts. So in this room, in this project, all the creativity of the movement is assembled, and we are very fortunate to be in this group. So thank you. I hope I have answered your question.
Thank you very much, fully. Thanks.
More questions about Vastu?
Well, it's not a question, it's an answer from a personal experience. We were planning to move here in 2014, I think. And we went to Caspar's graduation in MERU, and we had experience there for the first time to live or to sleep in a Vastu house. But the last 4 days of the time that we were there, we could not sleep there. We had to move to an Airbnb somewhere in the town. And that was like completely the opposite. And while we were there in the Vastu house, we experienced that there were many people actually staying in that house, and yet you didn't feel that. There was a silence and there was a space that was, we felt as if we were alone, like that. And then we decided we have to build a Vastu house. So we did ourselves, and that is across the forest here. There's no building between us and MERU. We would have loved to live here, but that was not possible at that time. We're not Rajas or so. So we built a house there, and also the experience of moving in, and the first 6 months being in a Vastu was, at a certain point we said to each other, do you notice that something's happening inside on a very subtle level that is restructuring you? I find it difficult to catch into words, but after I think 6 months or so, that was gone. Like purification, it felt a little bit. Was not uncomfortable, so, but it felt as if my consciousness needed to align with the cosmic law that is that is supported by the house.
Yeah, I understand, like a reset.
Yes, like a reset. Yeah, that's a good yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah. And people feel it when they come in the house, like workers, for example. If I would offer them a cup of coffee, they would be sitting at a table and not wanting to leave. And then the guy would say, "Oh, it's so silent here. It's so..." all these, it is a very strong feeling. Yeah.
Well, the power of Vastu, Maharishi says, Vastu is a great power in nature. Now, when you ask the scientist, they don't find it. We ask, is it gravity? They say, no, we know what is gravity. It's not Vastu. Is it this strong interaction? No. Or is it related to, dark energy and matter? No, we know what it is, but it is not Vastu. So then, what is the power of Vastu if it's so great and nobody knows it? So then Maharishi explains, it is like this. Suppose there's one star, and there's another star, and in between there is a point where the influence of that star has come to zero, neutralized by the influence of the other star. So there is a 0 point. So they did not find the power of Vastu because it's in between, it's zero, it's not there. But this 0 point, supposedly in the diversity of the universe, is everywhere in between. So the whole universe is full of this balancing power of Vastu. And the story, as it is described in the Puranas, in the pictorial language, in the old language, they say the gods, they perceived between heaven and earth a power which they could not comprehend. So they all together, they grasped it and threw it on the ground and sat on it in a particular order with Brahma, totality in the middle and then all around like this. So all the laws of nature, this is called the Vastu Mandala. So all the laws of nature is contained in the Vastu Mandala, which is used to design the building, so that you know where is the kitchen and the Agni and like this. So everything is having a cosmic order. You don't really see it, but Rajaji was explaining, and then when people have the experience that their physiology is adjusting to the wholeness of totality, that is the right thing, because then from one wholeness to the other wholeness to the other wholeness, there is a flow in terms of resonance, and that is the power of Vastu, in terms of that central point which is there physically, but also resonates with everything else. And in reality, when we transcend into that point. So people say often, they say, the house is so silent, it meditates for me. So they say it is yoga for the house, like that. So living in a Vastu building is a lifestyle. It is like a yagya, because the yagya is performed day and night. It does not stop as long as the building is there. You are having the influence. When you go to Jyotishi and he prescribes a yagya for you, next year you have to make another one and another one. But when you live in a Vastu home, Maharishi says, don't leave it. You would be like a fish out of water. Or he says, if you don't have a Vastu house, it is as if you have no electricity in the house. You live in a dark house. There's no energy. There's no wholeness. There's no totality. Thank you.
Very nice.
So then, Then we go to the next part that connects to Vastu in all senses. It regards how the inner side of the building gets life. We have in the inner side, we have the materials on the walls and on the ceilings and on the floors. We have the furniture, we have the colors, we have the light coming in, we have the the atmosphere created by all of these items. And then we have ourselves. We are in the room and get in a dialogue with all of these items. So it seems to be important that someone can tell us how this dialogue, this relationship can be also for evolution, like the building, according to Vastu, is a building that is born according to natural law in all the senses, according to all the principles of natural law. So the inner side of the building, Margherita will explain how interior design can enrich and complete Vastu, and also what she thinks to do with this apartment building.
So happy to be here and to have the possibility to talk on this, what one may think is a more superficial level. But decoration is actually not a superficial level. It's just an integral part of what we are looking, what we become, what we are eating, we become what we listen, we become. And so we are living in a perfect structure that is the Vastu. And it's very important to keep this harmony and to keep to use the knowledge that Vastu gives, how to use the spaces. And if you can put the first slide, this is the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. So we know that a house is made from many parts, and this wholeness that brings up us back to consciousness in each part of it. So the knowledge, the structure, the materials, and everything that could affect us on a physical and mental level. In Vastu, there is the indication how to live in a house, and so is how, what do we face to have better comprehension when we study or when we want, when we work and we want to have success, and what is the best place to eat, and so where is best to face, and where do we sleep, what is best for us, for the health, for the enlightenment, where do we place our head. And so all this knowledge, when we now practically planning this apartment building, is of course included and given when somebody is buying the apartment. This comes together. So we will help to place the bed in the right position, to place everything in the proper position, so to keep this knowledge, the harmony and the experience. When we go more on the aesthetic of it, then we have not so much rules in that sense, because of course it is a level of expression of creativity that has to speak to the people that lives, and each one has its own taste, has its own physiology that, as we know for Ayurveda, can be balanced by certain colors, by certain shapes. And this is my work as an interior design, if it's wanted, that we add this phase to help the people to know what do I use, what are the colors, what are the materials, what do you suggest. And so my task would be to be helping you to have what is the best. Is not I am not an interior designer that wants to put my ego in it, in the sense that I want to do what I like. My task is to harmonize what you like and what you want to see every day when you, from morning to evening, how is the kitchen? And it is a lot of know-how, and many people are just coming from other profession. Everyone thinks I can go to IKEA, I can go to the shop and do this. But I know that it's a lot of good integration, and the result is better if we work together. So this is my opinion, and I want to show you a little apartment that we have in our building. So the first slide can come. The second, sorry. So this is the smallest apartment that we have, and we decided to start to do a 3D rendering of this, because it is the most difficult probably to sell, because people want to have space, but we have also to optimize with the money, and so we wanted to show what we could do when we get a very small situation, and how anyway you can live and enjoy the whole that we have said before. So this is the entrance, and this is this very small apartment that is around 35 square meter, I think. This would be the empty apartment. So when you buy this apartment, this is what you will buy. Can you go with the next slide? This is the living room. You enter through that corridor. The next slide. And then you see through to the entrance door. To the next slide. You see a space like an alcove where you can put the bed. Depending on the position of the apartment, this was now on the west side, so the bed is on the east side in this case. And this is because it's a small apartment. Next slide. This is a hidden kitchen that I thought it was the best to give, not to keep it open. And next slide. So this is what we can offer if one takes the consultation of interior design, and so acquiring. When you buy the apartment, you get a kitchen and you get your bathroom with the vanities, with your tiles, with the floor that you choose from a variety of materials that we will be proposing that are in the price of the apartment itself. So the next step is I would like to have help, and I would like to get cabinetries. I do not have time to do it all myself. Can you stop here? Don't go farther. So this was my idea for this very small apartment, was to create, to give a little recess space to this sleeping area, and to use the space under the bed. As you see, there is a bookshelf with some drawers, and these drawers on the bottom, they go long inside under the bed, so can be a good storage place for suitcases, for winter and summer changes. And there is a desk integrated in it, facing to east in this case. For the other side of the small apartment, we have other solutions. And then you see there is the whole cabinetry. Then you can go to the next slide. So this would be the living room. You see there is a terrace in this one. Not all have a terrace, but this one has a terrace. So it's really a nice, small living space that separates still in even 35 square meters sleeping area and living area. Next slide, please. This is the sleeping. So optimized to get everything in the smallest space as possible. Next slides. So we use the top of the kitchen that doesn't go up to the ceiling as a kitchen. We use from the other side to have accessible cabinets. Next slide. This is the little night table integrated in the bed head. And this is the view. So even, you know, if it is small, you feel on top of the world here. You can look at the forest. You have a nice a nice view. And believe me, it's really small, the apartment. But next slide. So this is when the desk is open. Next slide. This is the entrance. One can optimize with more cabinet. I wanted now for the presentation to give this illusion of space and if one can afford. But there is a lot of cabinetry anyway, you know, for shoes. This is the bathroom. This is with nice porcelain marble tiles. And yeah, that's it. And then, yeah, this would be an upgrade of the kitchen that I could design with the owner of the apartment. Next slide. These are the drawers that give us the idea of how to use the space under. Next slide. This was the plan. Now the building has changed, but is almost we have the same apartment also in the new building. So you see from the layout basic, this is what you can buy and then do it all yourself. And this is the layout with the consultation of interior design that we can help then realize. Furnished, yeah. And we will, of course, get a better price if we get many people. We have companies that will give us good price for cabinetries. And then when we are in the phase to go into the interiors, who is interested and then can get kind of a catalog of what they can choose for, or just having everything bespoke. Next slide. So this is a cut to understand how the apartment is. Yeah, it speaks, I think, by itself. And this is the other side. The section is the other side. Now I just wanted to present myself with the work that I have been doing in this year. So I would ask video just if they can slowly go from one slide to the other. These are just all projects that I have been doing. So next slide. And next slide. Just to give a feeling of what I do and who I am. Next slides. Good meditation room. Next slide. Next slide. So I design also natural interior furnishing that are totally without metal, with natural latex and with natural materials for people who wants to have everything organic. This is us in our office. This here is all also organic. We have adobe walls. Next, yeah, these are apartments. I design everything. And next slide. Next. Next. Some details. When I plan the curtains is a big job. This is where my logo comes from. It's where next. And so I am Italian, so I I like to use marbles. I like I like to mix things up with many different traditions. This is a nice internal window in a Brahmastan. You see that gets the light from this. So that's me. I'm here for any question in case.
So the question from Zoom participants is, is there a possibility to use open space? So don't divide the kitchen there in the middle and put it maybe against the wall and make a bigger space.
Yeah, I mean, so depending by the phase the person is acquiring the apartment, because there is a phase like now where we still can do small changes. We cannot, depending on the orientation of the apartment, we cannot change the orientation of the kitchen. Like we cannot cook in the wrong direction, and we cannot have water coming from the wrong direction. So if one wants an open space, then the best is to have an apartment where the kitchen could go against the right wall, and then the rest can be open. Not all apartments can be solved like that. In this case, it started also because water had to come from a direction and like this. So we have to see with the person. When somebody is coming at the beginning, and now actually we are not anymore so much in the beginning phase, because we start to build, so we are doing now the engineering of the apartment, the permits are in process. So, but small changes, this is part of the talk with the architects in the moment that one has an interest for an apartment. We will, of course, try to do all to make it right.
Thank you. And there was a comment that the hallway is narrow and there's so little space for the bed. Does it block the cosmic energy from entering that space?
I think there is nothing that can block the universal energy. Consciousness is everywhere. This is a small apartment for somebody that choose this apartment is because they accept to live in a small space. So I think if there are people that needs to have like high ceiling, big spaces, one would not take a one-room apartment, of course.
Smaller bed.
Thank you.
In the hotel business, you say to an interior designer, if you can actually make the smallest room work, then imagine what the rest of the space can be. And you've done an amazing job to create such a space. And in the same way as we heard that you don't really want to leave, can you imagine if you weren't ever going to leave your car? And we go to lengths to decide what kind of steering wheel we want, what kind of stitching is going to be in the car, what color, and so on. And so I can't think of anybody better placed in our entire movement to work on these apartments with. And if I couldn't afford it on day one, I might get some IKEA, but knowing that within a few months I would engage Margherita on this project. And just one final piece from me, because as you were sharing very humbly that you've got a very wonderful gift. And you shared something that Maharishi said to you about opening the eyes and closing the eyes, which I think would be beautiful for everybody to hear.
Yeah. It was regarding a project many, many years ago. And Maharishi said that has to be so beautiful that you don't never want to close the eyes. But when you do close the eyes, the atmosphere is so beautiful you never want to open the eyes. So. Alberto, close.
So these sounds of living in heaven on earth, living in heaven, in the apartment building in the south corner of the MERU campus in Vlodrop. So if there are not more questions, then we would like to thank everyone to be here and yeah, following, of course, from far away. Thank you very much for your participation. And what we do very soon next is start manifesting this building. First step has been done yesterday with the ceremony of breaking the ground. So we prepared the place for us to come. So we told to Mother Earth, here something important is going to happen, and serving the purpose of life, serving evolution, and you are serving this purpose. So in this sense, we will keep you informed about the following steps, and the next gathering together could be the first stone ceremony to be done beginning of the next year, first or second quarter Q of the year. We will define that according to Jyotish. And well, nothing more to say. It was a beautiful being together with this purpose to think and dream about the apartment building. And this sounds like a milestone. It's the first building. And I mean, we have the video building. The video building is just, you know, the manifestation of knowledge here. And this is actually should be always have been there in the place. Actually, it is obvious that the video building is there. And of course, yes, the Raja houses belong to MERU, like they. But now it's a new thing, opening the campus to the outer world, and this is something that also MERU and the campus have prepared. Before it was quite more close structure, and the decision is made that this apartment building will begin with this open the door for success. At the end, is that integrating the world to enlighten the world, which probably is the mission of MERU anyway. So thank everybody. And
can I have last one question? Someone is asking for Margherita if you also design interior for just for Vastu buildings or for any buildings?
Well, I am so busy with the Vastu buildings, I have to say, that and usually people ask consultation for me because they are interested in natural and healthy. So if they live in a good house with good entrance, we can talk about. But it would be difficult to me, you know, to place things in a building that would be shifted, not no proper entrance, you know. Then you can bring beauty that is still very nice, but you could not bring what is really that more. That is what is my mission.
Closing remarks. Well, say a summary. Well, who's the best summarizer here? Well, thank you everybody, both online and offline and here present today, for breaking bread, I would say, together. It's the first time in 3 years that we can actually be together in a space, and we shared with Daria initially how we're going to do this. And we said, well, the world's moving into hybrid mode. And people are going to have meetings in presence here and on Zoom and on Skype and all the other modalities that we have. And so we started this way. And as I'd like to believe that this is not the end of a meeting, but the beginning of many more, where we come together and share ideas, share the wonderful stories that we heard today from our great leaders and all the experts and good wishers here, and keep sharing. This is part of the journey, the Vastu, the community, MERU, the storytelling. And if we look back at history or anything that really turns us on about our movement, it's been the stories, wonderful stories, and the pure knowledge combined. And so we are the next step. We are the movement moving forward. Is Caspar here today, or is he left us for now? And I'd like a very special thanks to Caspar for taking on the lead in the next generation with his team. Roxana, have you said anything during these last 2 days here?
Yes.
You have?
Yes, not officially, but I...
Well, I would welcome you, because I know Daria has, and she's been very, very busy. But I think it would be lovely for the next generation to close on for us. And Roxana, you've done so much to make this happen.
All I can say is that I feel very fortunate. First of all, because the aspect of knowledge is going on continuously for me. And second of all, because I can feel the materialization of all this knowledge. I can feel things stirring up and starting to happen. So it makes me very excited and happy that I'm part of all this process. Daria?
Thank you, Roxana. When I first came to MERU 3 years ago, I had no idea I will end up here. I came to, I was making up beds and cleaning kitchens. And I ended up being a Maharishi Vastu architect and bringing to life this wonderful project. And it's such an honor to be able to be a part of this wonderful group. It's just, my heart is really, really happy to be here. And thank you everyone for joining us and celebrating this.